lead editor David Burdett.
So I got to go and see Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness tonight. Whole lot of fun. Great being back in the theater with a big group. Only thing I will say that I noticed is that it wasn't as just balls to the wall as I kind of expected. It is weird as crap, but like I kind of felt like it was going to be being in the Millennium Falcon and doing the Kessel Run for the whole flipping movie.
That's a lot of movie to do that.
That didn't happen as much as I thought it was. Well, you know, stuff like maybe I'm spoiled by stuff like Endgame and Spider-Man No Way Home at this point. And especially with Spider-Man No Way Home, I was gonna freak out a lot more over that movie because I grew up with Spider-Man was like the first comic book that I remember borrowing from my local library and reading the crap out of and stuff. So I'm not as attached to Doctor Strange. There's some really cool moments in it. Just didn't hit as hard for me as maybe it will for some, but it's a whole lot of fun. A lot of really cool cameos. There's just a lot to unpackage, especially because as with any Marvel movie, there's more coming.
True. Very true. Were there any end credit scenes?
Yes, there are two end credit scenes.
All right, of course.
One of them sets up, and the other one is just fun. Definitely stay until all the credits are done. It's totally worth that in the very end one.
There we go. My name is Anthony Shelton, writer and YouTube content creator. Obviously, we are missing one of our dear hosts, but he is hanging out with the family, so hope he's having a good time. Noah Ansel Dua. But we'll say this. If you're an indie developer and you happen to be listening to this, please make sure your full controller support for Steam is actually full controller support. I was in the midst of trying to review a game called The Last Friend. This was on Steam, and for whatever reason, I don't know why they sent us a Steam code. The game just came out for the Switch about 4 days ago, so I am in the middle of playing that, as well as playing Halo Infinite and other things, but they sent us a Steam code. Okay, fine, even though it was released 7 months ago. But when I booted up the game, I had my Series X controller plugged in, and it didn't work. It registered the button, but I couldn't actually do anything. You know how it goes from the keys to the button prompts?
Yeah,
so that
happened,
happened, but I couldn't do anything. So I was like,
wow.
all right, that happened to me in another game I reviewed, the first game I reviewed for a gaming trend called Xing, but all I did was swap out my Series X controller for the Xbox One, and it worked fine. That is not what happened with The Last Friend. Instead, I plugged in the Xbox One controller, and it still didn't work. So I tried plugging in the Switch Pro controller. Did not work, because I was like, the button prompts in the options screen for controller showed the Pro controller for the Switch. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll just pop that in. Nope, still didn't work. So then I went to big picture mode and tried it with the Series X controller and the Xbox One controller. No, it still didn't work. So I don't know what happened. I tried it in beta mode. I tried it in retail mode. It just wasn't working. So I asked our beloved editor-in-chief, Ron, to get me a review code for the Switch, and thankfully they were kindly obliged. And so I will be reviewing that on the Switch. So, but indie developers, make sure your controller support is fully functional in all forms and fashions. And I get it. Like, early on in the Series X, like, I wasn't surprised that not every developer had controller support for that controller yet. But Xbox One,
oh yeah,
you should.
That's standard. That's standard on Steam,
basically. So I don't know what happened there. All right, let's get into our trending news. Embracer Group bought Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Montreal for $300 million. Some of the franchises included with this sale are Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, Marvel's Avengers, and Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as Lara Croft Go, Hitman Go, and Deus Ex Go, among other games that are a little less known, but they're still there. Square Enix is going to keep Just Cause, Life is Strange, and Outriders. David, how good is this for the fans of these IPs?
It's a fantastic thing for the fans of the IPs. The best example of all of this right now, if you go and you look at IO Interactive, a team that was making Hitman games, and they didn't know where they were going next when they left Square. They were gonna make Hitman still, but we really didn't have a grasp on, man. It felt like they were kind of just doing what they did, and that they couldn't get anywhere with it. And suddenly they bring out a Hitman trilogy that is not only fantastic, the third game is one of the best stealth kind of open worldish kind of games that you can play. It's fantastic. I actually reviewed it for Gaming Trend and loved what IO Interactive did with it. The fact that you don't have, and I think a lot of this boils down to something we've talked about with different studios, management. These studios have been mismanaged. Square's been mismanaging their Western studios for a long time. Whether that's just they don't, excuse me, whether they don't understand just the concepts that the Western studios are bringing over to them, or what. We've seen what they did with Balan Wonder World Land, whatever it is. So it may just be flat out mismanagement. But these IPs, these studios, have a chance to now grow on their own terms with a team or under a publisher, an Embracer. Embracer feels like they're really willing to just give you money and say, hey, do this right. Especially considering we've seen they've been willing to do a lot of remakes of games. Like we got the Kingdoms of Amalur remastered. They're willing to dip their hands into these older IPs, remaster them, and sometimes we even get another game in the series, like with Darksiders. Because we weren't expecting another Darksiders game ever at that point. Not only did we get remasters, we got a third entry in the series. So not only is Embracer doing good in bringing these games out, they're making sure that they're giving quality. Because the Destroy All Humans remake, as well as the SpongeBob remake, are two recent examples of games that were beloved. They were nostalgic. They brought these games and made them feel like they belonged in the space today. So I imagine what we could get if we get Legacy of Kain brought back, if we get some of these other older titles that they picked up, Thief. I'm a big fan of the Deus Ex games, and I'm hoping that this means we might see a remaster at least of those on current gen consoles, with even if it's just something as simple as make it look a little prettier and give me a boost on frames per second. It's for the fans of these games, this is arguably the best thing that could happen to them. And it's not just because Embracer, it's not just because of like that they're out of Square's hands. It's that the studio that got them is a multi-platform company. So they're not going to be console exclusives to anybody, but also it's not Tencent. So I feel better that we're not going to have any, admittedly, affiliations with China. That's a whole nother subject in and of itself. But also the fact that you're going to have some care and love put into it, because Embracer has been picking things up and they've been injecting new life into them. So if you're a fan of these things that got picked up, you should be excited.
For a moment there, I thought you said Karen love. Like a Karen, but I had to take a moment and say, you said care and love. But I also think it's a great thing for these IPs. Embracer Group is known for buying up unused IPs from different publishers or studios, and at least attempting to give developers the means to create another game in that. Darksiders 3 is an example of a game that was only possible because they got bought up by Embracer Group. So it, in some ways, all the buying that Embracer Group has been doing can seem aggressive and ugly in some ways because they're buying so much, but they're
buying the eBay pallets.
Yeah, exactly. They're just buying the eBay pallets. They're buying the Costco pallets, and it works because they're buying stuff we haven't seen in a long time. It's not like they're buying up, Overwatch and Call of Duty, like it's not like all these like huge known still used IPs that they're buying up all the time. These are things people want to see. I believe Time Splitters is getting a new game, or at least a remake of Time Splitters 2. I think that was approved officially. Part of that is because of Embracer Group. They're giving money to these developers to make these games so that way they can keep going. It honestly is a smaller way of bringing back AA games, basically. That's what Embracer Group is doing. Right now we have indie games and we have AAA games. We don't have anything in between anymore because it's either you create something small that is good enough that you can profit from, or you have to make something enormously huge, big budget thing that sells billions of dollars. And this is where I believe Square Enix went wrong. I don't know if it was mismanagement with these franchises more than unrealistic expectations. The fact that Guardians of the Galaxy was considered not a great turnout for Square Enix is absolutely ridiculous. Yes, the last Tomb Raider didn't sell as well as the first Tomb Raiders, but it didn't sell poorly. Also, it just didn't sell as well in comparison. So what is Square Enix's expectation for games like these? What in the world are they looking at? To me, it felt like Square Enix was putting unrealistic expectations in the same way Activision has to put so much stock into Call of Duty and every other game that they make. They have to be billion-dollar games, because if they're not, they don't have any other thing in their catalog that can lift them up. This is where it felt Square Enix was. They're so financially busted that everything that they make, that they pour money to, has to be this X amount of dollar hit. And if it doesn't make that, it's a flop. Even though in our eyes, and even though in pedestrian sales and analysts' eyes, like, Guardians of the Galaxy sold well. It was at least a platinum hit.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider was a quadruple platinum hit, right? Like 4 million is nothing to scoff at. Yes, in AAA, it's on the smaller end. Like, we get that, but it's not bad at all. Yeah, it's not chump change at all. So what kind of returns was Square Enix looking for? It's impossible. Like,
they wanted them Nintendo numbers.
Right. If you're not satisfied with 4 million, if you're not satisfied with 1.5, 2 million, I forget what Guardians of the Galaxy was, but somewhere around that ballpark, like, what are you doing? Like, what are your expectations? I get it's Marvel, so, maybe, other extra stuff, Marvel expectations, I don't know. But come on. This is horrible. And mind you, we also don't know what's going to happen with any of the Marvel stuff that Embracer has gotten a hold of. That's going to get all muddy. We know they messed up with Marvel Avengers. That obvious mismanagement there. But in terms of everything else, it just seems like wildly crazy sales expectations that just these franchises aren't really known for somebody like Square Enix. So yes, this is fantastic for all the IPs listed, because now there's a shot that you're going to get another one, and it doesn't have to be this multi-million dollar game for us to maybe get another one. At the very least, we're going to get one more, possibly, of Deus Ex, because that's popular. They're going to put money into Embracer Group is basically going to put money into the franchises that they know people have a heavy interest for, so that way they can get the proper profit that they need so they can keep funding other games, including something like Deus Ex, and keep that going. That's in short, that's what Embracer Group is doing for all these franchises. Put something out, get some profit out of it, and keep putting money back into these developers so they can keep making the stuff that they want. May not always work out where the franchise can continue for a long time, but at least we might be able to get something once, and it might be really, really good because there's none of these crazy shareholder expectations that companies like Square Enix or Activision or any of them have to be beholden to. Now, my question is for you, David. Square Enix's decision to ditch these studios for franchise or for blockchain, for AI, for cloud, do you think that's a bad move for Square Enix? Do you think that's a good move for Square Enix? Obviously, we're not in the business, we're not behind the scenes, but from where we're standing, what do you think of it?
I think it is a bad idea. At best, if you do anything, when you hear blockchain, it's automatically you're going NFTs. If you do anything with that, like, can I say I don't expect us to see that at some point in Final Fantasy 14. Honestly, that could be on its way, just being honest. Yeah. I hate that.
That's true.
That being said, I am not completely sure if this is just a bunch of PR speak to maybe they're hoping to rattle the cage in order to get somebody interested in them.
Because you mean like an acquisition?
They could be looking further than just selling the Western studios. I'm not saying I don't want to get too ahead of myself,
prostituting themselves to the to those who would buy.
Because, associating yourself with anything that sounds futuristic and that might make money. Because people forget the Japanese side of Square is actually still very profitable right now. Like they've done really well with it. Admittedly, a lot of that is Final Fantasy 14. I mean, they literally had to disable selling the game because it was selling so well. When you're doing that well, something's going right.
Yeah, but it's not like Final Fantasy VII Remake, was a flop. Like that's
that was
for their standards.
That's selling well. As soon as Final Fantasy 16 comes out, that thing's going to sell gangbusters. We all know, and they've still got more parts of the remake coming out. It's these things are not going to make. I guess the biggest thing is I don't like hearing that you're going to take what you just made and invest it into things that people arguably do not care about. Like, tell us. I don't know. That's why I think it's more trying to get investors' attention or acquisition attention, because it doesn't sound like something you say with the intention of getting people excited about your business like you and I or the people on Twitter. Like, the first thing I would say is, we're looking to make Final Fantasy 14 a better game, or invest this back into that studio, or this, or even if I'm just putting $1 of it in there. Even if just putting $1 in the coffee, the coffee bucket,
jar,
so that in the tip jar, so one of those people at the studio can get a free coffee or something. Like, I want players to see it as I'm investing in that. Now, it could be that just, once again, we just spoke of mismanagement. Could just be straight up mismanagement. But I see it more as PR speak. So it is a bad move if it's real, but I don't know if it's exactly what they're doing with the $300 million.
It's hard to say what blockchain, AI, and cloud investment means. I don't know what Square Enix plans to do with cloud technology. I don't know what they plan to do with AI technology. And we could figure what they're going to do with blockchain technology. But we know that's a dead end for the general public. Square Enix's audience. I've heard Japanese people are, I guess, more open to NFTs. I don't know how true that is, but I don't know. I wish I remembered the report straight off the top of my head, but I think part of it is doubling down on their Japanese market. So if all these things are about doubling down on the Japanese market and abandoning the Western market, I guess there's something there that I don't know from a business standpoint that they see. Obviously, we're not inside, so we wouldn't know anyway, but I don't see how we benefit outside of we're going to get more Japanese Square Enix games, which that's fine because I like Final Fantasy. I like, but we're not going to get more Guardians of the Galaxy. We're not going to get, stuff Square has published in the past. Yes, it's gone to Embracer Group, but that sort of game. It could go either way because licensing issues with Marvel and things like that. So we just don't know what's going to happen with that stuff. So yes, in one way we benefit because now that stuff is sold away from Square Enix, but Square Enix still has stuff that's good, and I would like to have more of it. But if they're just going to dump that money into the Japanese market and we just have to be drip fed Final Fantasy every once in a while, like that doesn't sound great. It sounds like the fall of Square Enix to me. Their fall from grace is quite apparent if this is the direction that they're going to go in. So I think it's hard for me to say it's a bad move straight up because if they're focusing on the Japanese market, that's a market I don't quite understand fully myself.
And it is their market at this point.
It is their market. So it might be smart from a business perspective for them, especially in the blockchain, if Japanese business folk are more open to it than we are over here. Otherwise, if they still plan on investing in the Western market, I do not see this as a good idea, particularly with the blockchain, but also because we don't know what in the world they're doing with AI and cloud.
Yeah.
All right, hit us with your story, David.
Gotcha. Well, Fortnite, as announced today, is now available on xCloud of all things, which is a pretty big deal in and of itself, especially considering it's one of the biggest games out there. But even bigger of a deal, at least this is in my opinion, is it's free. And that's not just that Fortnite itself is free. It's that this is the first game that Xbox is dropping on the cloud with no additional charge there. Now, they're throwing it into Game Pass. Obviously, xCloud is a Game Pass only subscription thing. You can't go out and buy it any other way. You have to have Game Pass Ultimate
to be specific. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have Game Pass Ultimate. This will not require a Game Pass Ultimate sub to be able to play Fortnite on the cloud. And that is a monumental thing. I guess the first question to start off with is, what's the significance of having cloud gaming available at no cost?
Well, I think the benefit of having cloud gaming at no cost for anybody is obviously you could jump into a game and you don't have to pay for it. Like that's the most obvious thing. You can download the game. I have the Xbox app on my phone. I have the Game Pass app on my phone. I could open it up right now. If I didn't have Game Pass, I do, but if I didn't, I could pop it open and play Fortnite on my phone. Now, I have an Android though, so I could do that regardless. The kicker is, if I had an iPhone, I wouldn't be able to do that. This would allow me to be able to play on my iPhone. So that's super significant. I think that's the bigger thing here than just, it's free on Game Pass. No. There are a ton of Apple users out there, and I don't understand why, but there are a ton of them, and they cannot play Fortnite, and they haven't been able to play Fortnite for a long time. I don't know if that audience has moved away from Fortnite in favor of other things. Maybe they also have consoles and they play that. But for those who are still interested in playing Fortnite, for those who have been deprived of the pleasure of playing Fortnite on Apple and are fiending for that moment to play again, here it is. Because it's available now, right?
Yep, it's available right now.
Boom. So while you're watching this, you could be playing Fortnite for free on your iPhone, and you don't have to pay. The other benefit is this is pure, I won't call it marketing genius, but this is marketing savvy, because now you're getting people from Fortnite, particularly on Apple, involved in playing a game on Xbox Game Pass. Well, in order to get to Fortnite, you can't just put the app on Apple. You have to go into Game Pass. And then you have to probably scrub through a few games to get to Fortnite. Maybe you could go to a tab, but the first thing that always pops up is that home screen. Maybe you find a game that you like on that home screen and go, oh, this is on this Game Pass thingamabobber. I'm only here for Fortnite, but maybe I'll invest 1 month into Game Pass to check this thing out. Now you're playing other cloud games on your phone if you are paying for Game Pass Ultimate. Otherwise, you might be able to play, on your PC if you just pay for the PC. So this is a pretty freaking smart move by Microsoft just by using Fortnite as a free cloud game.
Yeah, you're very right there. It's absolutely brilliant marketing move, because this becomes a game, the first game really that's free, completely free to play with the reach Fortnite has, that's available on every device. It's not available just one place. It's not available 2 places. Most of the places, you've now created something that is available everywhere now. And it's available easily, because it's not just the fact of I can boot into it. It's free. As long as I'm connected to the internet, I'm good. And they have built-in controls for it. So you don't have to pull out a controller or anything and hook it to your phone. You can play it right then and there. The fact that this is no charge is, like you said, not only free marketing for Xbox, but Fortnite's definitely getting a lot out of this, because they're getting to circumvent this whole big case that just happened that keeps them off of Apple devices, which, as you said, I don't completely understand why everybody has them, but a whole lot of people have them.
Can't deny it.
Can't deny that it's a humongous part of our world today. So now that it's back on there, and they're not having to have that extra cut taken out of their V-Bucks, because they gonna get lots and lots and lots of V-Bucks, because little Timmy needs to play his Fortnite now that he can on his iPad.
Ah, freaking little Timmy. Get off them games.
Considering that Fortnite's here, you think this is the first domino that's gonna fall when it comes to free-to-play cloud gaming?
The first thing that comes to my mind is Apex Legends. That's the next domino. I'm like, if you got Fortnite, you might as well try to go for Apex Legends. Why not?
I mean, Apex is on the Switch now, right?
It is. I don't know how well it runs, but it is on the Switch. It feels like if you have a free-to-play game and you have it on at least Android as a way to play mobile, then throw it on Game Pass. The tricky part about that is, though, if nobody else is really in the situation that Epic is with Fortnite. So
nobody.
The question would be, is there a reason to put your game on Game Pass cloud service if you can already just make your own app? Apex has its own app, or at least it's coming with one. So they don't need to put their game on cloud in order for you to play that. The only benefit, I suppose, would be, do I feel comfortable playing this on mobile? Hey, I already have the Xbox Game Pass. I'm already subscribed to it. I could boot it up and try to play it on mobile. And if I like it, either you download the app or you keep playing it through Game Pass. But most people are going to play through the app anyway, because you don't have to rely on crazy internet to not only play the game but also stream the game. So that's That's two factors. So I don't really know. Apex is the first thing that comes to my mind, but I don't really know if anybody else has any legit use for this as a free-to-play game. I don't know if you think differently about that.
Well, for me, I don't see how Warzone doesn't end up here, especially considering Xbox is acquiring Activision. I could see Warzone hitting it mainly, unless the only thing I can say I've heard that they're working on a mobile version of Warzone. If they are, it does make a lot less sense. Like you said, if you already have an app, there's no point. But at this point, at this juncture, assuming there is no app, Warzone, it's a logical jump because I don't have to update it. I don't have to download it to my phone and take up a lot of space. And Warzone is a very technically demanding game. I don't have to have a phone that is so good. I just have to be able to run the Game Pass app because all the blades, the server blades are doing all the hard work for me.
I think that's a more interesting point. There is, how old is your phone? How old is your tablet?
Yep.
Because there are some games. I had a Galaxy S7 for a while, and some stuff was just getting past the S7. So it was like, all right, I'm not going to upgrade for the sake of playing anything, but man, this kind of sucks. Yeah, the cloud could help with something like that if you're in that situation.
Yeah, it suddenly kills the can my device run it? It as long as it runs the Game Pass app, it runs that.
Yeah.
So do you think? I was just going to say, do you think that Apple or Google are going to look to block this at all, or do you think they already kind of have the permission?
I don't think they can. It's running through Game Pass. They don't have control over what we are allowed to play on Game Pass. So I don't think they have any jurisdiction to be able to do or say anything. This is just a smart move by Epic to utilize game. I mean, Epic said this a long time ago in potentially using cloud to be able to let people play Fortnite on, or maybe not even cloud, but I forget if it was browser-based version or something like that, to be able to play Fortnite on Apple. So they've been thinking about this. Apple had no response to that when that happened. So they can't do anything about that. It's just about, for Apple, they're trying to make their money with their 30% cuts and all that stuff. So for them, that's all they care about. If Epic decides to go this way, that's fine. Your app isn't on our store anymore. We don't have to worry about you. We're getting our money in other ways. That's your problem. So I don't know what that means for the lawsuit or anything like that, but I mean, Epic is getting what they want done. They're allowing people to play on Apple. That's all they're worried about. The concern, though, is, in my eyes, how good is Xbox Cloud Gaming to be able to let people do that, because it's good, but I've played on console, and it runs fine. There's not too much latency, but that's stuff for like Infernax, right? A platformer. We're talking about Fortnite. Like, there's a lot going on. Latency would be a problem. I would imagine if Microsoft and Epic created this deal, I imagine playing on the cloud for Fortnite is probably good enough for the average, internet user to be able to play it and have some success at times. Otherwise, even if Epic was just trying to get on Apple, if nobody can legitimately play, then that's just going to make Apple users who play Fortnite really angry, because this isn't a viable way to actually play the game. So I imagine it works well enough. I don't know how great it is. I know Xbox Cloud Gaming isn't as reliable as Stadia, but it's not bad from what I've experienced.
Cool. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Apple tried to figure something out, but what can you do? Like you said, if you can play something right through the browser, it's not going to be you're not going to be able to really stop it. So,
Nope.
them's the ropes.
If that were the case, I'd pop open Safari just to really put it in their face. All right. Let's move on to our next story. Reggie Fils-Aime, during South by Southwest, said that he believes in blockchain. More blockchain talk. He called it, quote, really compelling technology, end quote. He also said that he's spent 50, 100 to 300 hours in different games and asked if it would be great if we could monetize our playtime, basically. He said, quote, I bet I'd have some takers here today if I wanted to sell my Animal Crossing Island from the latest Nintendo Switch version. I'd like to be able to monetize that, end quote. David, would you like to be able to monetize your Animal Crossing Island?
I totally get the idea of I've invested a lot of my time into something and I would like to get some money back out of it. I get that. I play a crap ton of Call of Duty. And it might be nice to have an exclusive skin that only I have that I could sell to somebody else. It's a cool thought. But I'm not sure it just works right. And that's being said as someone who sold an NFT as someone else before, so admittedly I got kind of a good laugh out of it and everything. And NFTs, as much as people are jumping on everything and like talking about everything, and like there's this article that's been going around like the NFT sales have plummeted 92%. And the market has collapsed. It hasn't really plummeted if you actually read the numbers. It's just that it sounds like the peak of it has plummeted. The money's still going. It's just it's not at its peak anymore. So it's about the same amount of money, just not the same interest. But I feel like I'm on both sides of the argument. I would like to be able to earn exclusive things that are only for me. At one point, like it'd be neat to have a gun that's only mine in Call of Duty. But at the same point, I'm going to move on from Call of Duty. Well, depending on how Xbox takes them, assuming they acquire them, I'm going to be moving on every year or two. That thing's not going to really be worth anything in the long run. So really, the biggest issue with NFTs is just they're not worth something for very long. When you grab it, its maximum value is within the first. I mean, if I'm just going to put a number on it, I would assume its maximum value is probably within the first month to 6 months, depending on what it is. So it's like fidget spinners. They sold really crazy there for one summer, and then my GameStop got a bunch of them. And then guess what? Nobody wanted fidget spinners anymore. So guess who had to count those stupid things on every stinking extra category count we had to do on Tuesdays and Thursdays? I did.
That was
until we
GameSpot's
finally pennied those stupid things out and gave them to the children's hospital.
That was GameStop's fault for being so late on the trend. That's their problem.
And they were constantly. They're just now getting into the NFT market.
Yep. Well, I guess that's still pretty fresh. Everybody's got brand new, fresh NFT ideas. So, yeah, this is just the gold mine of stuff. Don't we play games for entertainment? Don't we watch TV for entertainment? Don't we watch movies and read books for entertainment? Yes, people still read books. Don't we do that for entertainment? If I'm sitting there trying to make money from that, like, go do something interesting with the thing to make money off of it. Just playing a game is not a reason for anybody to spend money, let alone try to make money. Even streamers. A lot of people like to say, oh man, like streamers, they just play games and they get to make money. No, they're not. They're not just playing games. You have to be entertaining. You have to be interesting. You have to come up with interesting ways to play the game that you are playing so that it entertains the people. You have to be personable. You have to be entertaining. You can't just play the game and expect people to donate to you, to subscribe to you. This is even in the Let's Play era on YouTube, you had to be entertaining. You couldn't just drop gameplay and call it a Let's Play and people are going to sub to you. It's not going to happen. But this is basically what Reggie Fils-Aime is talking about. Hey, I've spent 300 hours in my Animal Crossing island. I would certainly love to monetize it. I'm sure a lot of people would love to monetize their 1,500 hours in Overwatch. But nobody gives a flip about your profile. That's not how this works. Yes, we are in an age where, Fortnite, for example, people will sell their Fortnite profiles because they have stuff that you don't have. And so you buy that profile so you get to have that. I get that. There is always a market for that. But that market is not big. It's not big at all. The people who sell in that market could sell at a high price because the market is not that big. But this is the same thing. If I decide to spend God knows how many hours in God of War, and I could sell my playtime to you and everything that I've unlocked, yeah, somebody might buy it, sure. But is that what we're really here for? We're here to be entertained. We're here to have fun. I'm not trying to turn my playing into some sort of job, because what's going to happen if that were to happen is you're going to have a bunch of people who are going to try to invest so many hours, grind everything, get all the achievements, do this, that, and the other, and they're going to turn playing games into a job, because you're going to have to do something a little extra special for somebody to want to buy your profile, your game progress, whatever it may be. You can't just say, hey, I got 25 hours and I got all apples on my Animal Crossing island. You want to buy it? Like, no, because somebody else is going to be like, I have all fruit and max island mass. They're going to go for that guy because he's got everything you would want. So at any point, this is how markets always work. The people who are genuinely interested in putting in that time so that people will buy the thing that they are trying to create and sell, that's where the market is going to go. The idea that I'm just going to sell progress and sell stuff that I earned, that it doesn't make any sense. And it truly takes away from the idea of, we're just here for entertainment. If we start stomping on that, then what are we actually here for when we play games?
And then our games start being designed around that concept, which makes them less fun.
Preach! Come on, man. You what are you, a pastor, right? Preach!
I am an assistant pastor.
Okay, so preach. I'm telling you to preach.
Yep.
So
it's simple. It really is.
Yeah, you said the message. Is there truly something to blockchain?
Not do a job.
Do you think there is something truly to the idea of blockchain technology, though? Is Reggie onto something beyond the idea of I get to monetize my Animal Crossing island?
I really think it sounds good. That's really what it boils down to. Is it's kind of like I'd love to go on somebody going like my buddy Noah. I'd love to go on a date with Daisy Ridley. Would it work out? Probably not. It sounds good though. That's what blockchain is. It sounds really good. It sounds great to think that the 300 hours that I've put into Call of Duty Vanguard could make me some money. It sounds good. Does it work out really in the end though? Not really. Because like you said, there's going to be a lot of other people that are going to be on there grinding too. So suddenly it's not just, it sounds great, the idea of playing a video game and making money, but you're going to be competing versus everybody else. You're going to be fighting to get that money versus everybody else. It's not a market that is going to be so heavy that everyone is guaranteed money there. And what does that do? That's going to put more stress on you, and you're going to be having to grind even harder to get, plant number 1 in your inventory so that you can sell it for a big. It just the extra stress and all of that isn't worth. It sounds good in the end, but it's not worth the effort that is going to be put in. It sounds great to us right now because we're not actually doing it. It sounds great to me. It sounds like a great extra bit of money because I'm not actually grinding in Vanguard to make a living. It's a whole nother thought process when you're actually having to do it. And like you said, suddenly your entertaining hobby is gone.
Poof. I do like the idea that somebody out there is trying to figure out how to give us ownership of digital things. I like that idea. I think it was Snoop Dogg who was trying to turn all of like Death Row's digital album base into LPs so that he could, sell them at whatever price, or basically the concept of being physical goods have more value than digital goods, right? The Mona Lisa, if that were originally a digital piece, it's not going to hold the same value because anybody can right click and save and everybody can have it. And yes, there is a such thing as mockeries of really famous paintings, but people can figure out, oh, that's a mock. And it's harder to do that digitally. It's possible, but even still, there's no ownership. Either it's licensing or everybody else can have it too. And that's the big problem with digital assets right now. So I don't mind the idea. And I can understand blockchain is trying to help solve that a little bit, but it's just not there. It's just not there. Like its current iteration is not there. I understand. Somebody buys something, they create the NFT token, and it gets written down in the blockchain ledger. Cool. Somebody can steal that and put it on another blockchain and call it theirs. Like it's not working as is. And until we turn it from something that's here to just make money into something that actually adds value to the idea of owning digital assets and even moving beyond just licensing things out, okay, I think we can have a conversation. I think then digital collectibles become far more interesting. But as of right now, if I had a super rare physical Babe Ruth baseball card and somebody had a Babe Ruth baseball picture, my baseball card is going to sell far more than your baseball picture. It's no different than the original Super Mario Brothers cartridge selling for God knows how many millions versus the digital version of Super Mario Brothers, which you could still buy on the market and hundreds of other people could buy on the market. There's nothing significant about that. There is something significant about the first, right? So I get that's where they're trying to go for. It's just not here yet. All right. David, what have you been playing?
Yes, I got to play a bit of Trek to Yomi, the new samurai side-scroller game out there. Reminds you a lot of the good old Kurosawa films, and it's a lot of fun. I know Richard, he put up the full review for the game. I added an addendum with some Steam Deck impressions, as well as put together some videos so that everybody can actually see the game in action. It is a whole lot of fun to play. Just very simple is the best thing about it, because you're not having to learn a bunch of combos, a bunch just going crazy with different ways you're doing things. No, you just face one direction or another direction. You parry, you do some quick little combos with your sword, and it's easy as anything. Not to mention, they've got plenty of really good difficulties settings in the game. So if you're like me and you're just kind of wanting to be a little more chill, have a little bit more of a calm, just sit back gaming session, you can play the easy mode, so to speak, which allows you to enjoy the story. That ends up taking, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, about 3 to 4 hours. But if you want to go a little bit more crazy and have to be a little more parry heavy, hit the guys a couple more times, you can go up to the higher difficulties, and that increases the game to about 5 to 7 hours. So just a beautiful game to play, but really simple, so that it just feels like a really good chill game, even though it is action heavy with a lot of the way you're fighting and whatnot. But it's a simple enough action game that you don't have to put so much thought into it.
Sounds interesting. I know
it is on Game Pass.
It is.
Yeah.
So I'm considering it. I just have other things to play, but since it is on Game Pass, it is definitely going in my play later. So yeah, I haven't seen much about it. I've heard buzz about it. So I know reviews came out today. I don't remember if somebody reviewed it for us, but
Richard did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to check that out, but I'm interested. Regardless of the reviews, I'm going to play it anyway. So I'm hearing a lot of mixed things, particularly in the controls. So I don't know if you've had any struggle with the controls at all, but that's what I'm hearing.
The controls actually work just fine.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give it a shot at some point. I have been playing the Overwatch 2 beta, and
nice.
I like it. I don't even know if that's a hot take, but I do like it. I did write an article about it, which you can find on Gaming Trend in the editorials, and a lot of people have been saying it feels the same as Overwatch, and I understand what they're saying. I understand that they were expecting something, I don't want to say drastically, but significantly different. But I don't know why, when Blizzard literally laid everything out that they were planning on doing with Overwatch 2 as they kept announcing stuff. So I don't know where the expectations went for people, but they said they were going to make changes to some heroes. They said they were going to include certain maps. They said they were going to add the new push mode. They said they were going to change it to 5v5. And there was going to be the PvE. And I'm like, the PvE is what Overwatch 2 is. That's the 2. The PvP is, yes, a continuation of what Overwatch started.
I mean, 1 and 2 are cross-compatible.
Right.
You can't change that much if it's cross-compatible.
Exactly. But even still, I really don't know what people were expecting when they went into this 5v5 format, and like it kind of feels the same. Which I'm like, if it feels the same, that's the highest compliment you could give it, because 5v5 does change how you play. It specifically changes how tanks and DPS play. And I'm a support main. It literally feels like the same game when everything is functioning properly. When things are going wrong, which it happens a lot because this is quick play and I'm getting matched with all kinds of different people who, don't know what to do, or it's the first time, or they're getting back into it a long time. No shade to them. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of skill levels involved when you play quick play, as with any game. But as a support, I'm getting flanked a whole lot more because there isn't an extra tank to come help peel. So I'm having to stick with my team a lot tighter. DPS now have a peeling option, which is basically, going back and getting opponents off of you. So that way you're not getting jacked up. But everything else that I'm doing is exactly what I should be doing from Overwatch. the tanks have different roles, the DPS have different roles, and I think they're struggling mostly with how this game feels because DPS move a little bit faster, and so supports are complaining, man, the DPS move too fast. And in my head, I'm like, well, the DPS move faster, yes, so they can hit the back line of the opposing team, but the DPS in your team move faster so they can go help get the opposing DPS off of you. Like, that's now their job. It's not the tank's job anymore to just, oh, crap, Diva, come help me. Zarya, come help. No. You got one tank. That tank is now here to create space and to put on damage and help the DPS be able to do different things. Like, it's a simplified job. It's just more difficult because you literally don't have that extra tank to clean up any of the extra stuff. Like, you have to play tight. And I like that. And I've been in some games where it's competitive. Like, it goes back and forth. I have some wins. I have some
brawl
losses,
heavy, like we talked about last podcast.
Yeah, it is brawl heavy, but it feels like the same kind of brawls in Overwatch, like the original Overwatch. Like, you got to go in, you got to make the right plays, you got to heal the right people, you got to shoot the right people, like, you got to try to get those one-on-ones. All that stuff is still in play. It's just the tanks and the DPS have slightly different roles, which is pretty significant. Like, when you've played Overwatch for so long, like, it's hard to think about those things, but it feels the same because when it's played right in this 5v5 format, it feels exactly like the 6v6 format because everything is just so tight and clean, and it happens on both sides. It's just like these fights can go on for so long when everything's going so smooth. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm like, yes, this works. This 5v5 format works. It's just a lot of people need to get used to it. So that's my take right now. I've been playing quite a bit of it, and yeah, I think it works. They have some stuff they need to fix. It's a beta, but I think the fundamental of the 5v5 format works. That's me.
Cool. I will definitely have to check it out with you at some point then.
Oh yeah. Hop in with me.
Yeah, I need to watch. They just did the first Overwatch League matches today, so.
That's right. That was today. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to watch my Atlanta Rain boys and see if they did okay.
Yeah. I'm an LA Valiant person, and they started fine in season 1, but man, they fell off a cliff. My boy Custa retired. It was so bad. No, that's not why he retired. But
hey, I'm happy because we got your boy KSP, also known as Kai now.
Yeah. I'm a little jealous. But yeah, I've played quite a bit of Overwatch. I've nearly hit diamond a few times. So, like,
nice.
I've nearly hit diamond. So, like, I know how to play the game. So when I'm discussing these things, it's not like I'm just some silver player who's like, no, it's like, no, I really think about tactics and like what roles are supposed to be doing, how they're supposed to be acting, and a lot of it's the same for supports, but the tanks and DPS do have some changes they have to make in the way that they play in order to, support, help the team in their way. I don't want to say support to confuse anybody, but I think it's fine. It's got work. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's a very good start.
Awesome.
All right. David, have you been working on anything?
We got some stuff in the pipeline, mainly Call of Duty Season 3 impressions. There's not going to be a ton of stuff because it is a little bit smaller of a season and the Warzone event doesn't happen until next week. But we will have some fun stuff once I can actually get things together, as well as some other things that can't really talk about right now. So
can't really talk about those beautiful NDAs. I have 2 editorials that I put out, like I mentioned. The one for Overwatch 2 is if Overwatch 2 feels the same, that's the highest compliment. That's the name of that one. And then I have a Halo Infinite one titled Halo Infinite's Last Spartan Standing fails as a Halo mode and miniature BR. So I'll be keeping track of what's going on with Halo in its season 2. But those two I put out today. So those are, they should also still be on the front page. So you don't have to look too hard for it on Gaming Trend. So that's all I got. And of course, I'm still working on the review for The Last Friend. So doing that. Yeah, I think that does it for us. Us two. Noah will be back next week, hopefully. And yeah, that's about it. Appreciate you watching and listening. We'll talk to you later.